Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. How would you like to be put in the middle of a big fire? Would anyone like that? I don't think so. What about being in the middle of a big ocean and just drowning and coming up sometimes and looking all around and there's no place to go and again going under? This sounds like nightmares, doesn't it? Well, these are two analogies that are given for the state of material existence. Sometimes material existence is compared to be like being in the middle of a big fire. And sometimes it's compared to drowning in a fathomless ocean. Neither position, either analogy you take, it's both horrible. So you may think, well, it doesn't seem that bad to me. I have my TV, I have my idlis, so what's the problem? Well, the problems are many. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna analyzes that everyone has at least 4 problems. Sometimes people come to me and say, I have 1 problem. I tell them, no, you're wrong, you have at least 4 problems. Birth, death, old age and disease. Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi. No one can escape them. So we might think that, well, I'm living very comfortably, but we all have to suffer repeated birth and death. And it's not pleasant. Getting born is not pleasant. There's a description in the Srimad Bhagavatam of the condition of the child in the womb. Now sometimes people think that the Puranas and Mahabharata and all this Shastra is just some musings of ancient ignorant people. But in the Srimad Bhagavatam is an exact description of how the embryo forms within the womb. Now all this has just been recently discovered by modern science. But they didn't discover it because the knowledge is already there in Shastra. Similarly, all branches of knowledge are in the Shastra. Just like people, they say, well, I don't believe in this astrology. But astrology is the same word and it's based on astronomy. It means seeing the positions of the planets. And that's according to the ancient Jyotish, or astronomical calculations. You can calculate the time of the rising of the sun, the time of the rising of the moon, when there'll be eclipses, and so many things. So all of this is based on very precise scientific and mathematical knowledge. So one of the many scientific facts that the Shastra explains is the condition of the embryo within the womb. But the Shastra actually gives us more information than modern science does. Because the Shastra informs us that around the 7th month, the child in the womb becomes conscious of its previous lives. And it looks back and it sees all my previous lives and how I've been suffering birth after birth after birth. And then he decides, alright, now when I get born, I'll worship Hari and I'll get free from this birth and death. It's actually a very miserable condition in the womb. You're hanging upside down and you can't move, you can't talk to anyone, and they're like worms, like little creamies. They're biting the child, and if the mother takes some food with chilies, then it burns the child. But when the child comes out of the womb, the pain, the mother feels pain, the child also feels intense pain. And due to that pain, the child forgets all that he was contemplating within the womb. And he goes through life, and life is a struggle. No one is happy. And at the end you have to die and get born again. So any intelligent person can understand that material life is miserable. Everyone's kindly invited to turn off their cell phone. I'm sure whatever he's speaking on his cell phone is not nearly as important as what we're discussing here. People spend all day, all night, all their lives discussing things of no actual importance. What is the cricket score? What does it matter? You're all going to die soon. What will happen after that? No one asks these questions. That means everyone is foolish, actually. There are all these colleges all around here, and people think, oh, so many colleges, so many intelligent people. I don't think they're not intelligent. Everyone's completely foolish. Because they're going and studying, and for what? So they can get a job and get some food, and then they're going to die. And they have no idea what the real purpose of life is. And they don't even think to ask what will happen after death. Now, isn't that foolish? It's just like, you see, if you're driving in a car which is out of control and it's going straight towards a big rock, and you're thinking, well, maybe I'll smoke a cigarette, maybe I'll listen to some pop music, and it's just stupid. Someone said, look, you're going to crash. And say, well, that'll be later. In the meantime, I'll enjoy a cigarette. It may be 5 minutes later, or it may be 50 years later, but we're all heading for that crash. We spend all our energy thinking how we can live happily in this world. No one is happy, and then we die. And no one thinks, what's it all about? What's the purpose? We think if I can earn enough money to buy a big TV, and then my life is successful. So Shastra gives us knowledge of all scientific knowledge of the universe, just like this gynecology, astronomy, and all different fields of knowledge. But that's not the really important knowledge. The really important knowledge is not about this world, but about how to get out of it. Parabhavastavad abodhajata yavan najignyasata atmatattvam. Whatever we do in life, our whole endeavor is defeated as long as we do not inquire into the nature of who are we, atmatattvam, to understand who we are. Most people don't even know who they are. If I ask you who you are, you'll say, well, this is my name. I'm Tamil, Indian, I'm a student, or a businessman, or a housewife, but this is not our real identity. This is temporary. Shana Bhangur, the word is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Just like flash and it's over. That, alright, you're a Tamil, but after death, what will you be? You might not even be a human being. You can get a dog, cat, a mouse body or whatever. So this is not our real identity. For that we have to learn from Shastra. But this modern civilization is cheating us so badly that they make us think that it's stupid to learn from Shastra. Shastra directs us to the only really important knowledge. Of course, we do need some material knowledge as long as we're in this world. But we don't have to make it so complex. You don't really have to understand the physiological workings of the cow's body. Just feed her some grass, take the milk, and drink it. That's all. Offer it to Krishna. So people spend all their life studying this world, but they don't even see how miserable it is. But Shastra points out the important information. This world is full of misery. We are not meant to be miserable. We are meant to be happy. But this modern educational system has cheated us so badly that this actually important information, they say, oh, that's not important. Engineering is important. Engineering, you build a bridge, and then you die, the bridge stays for some time, then that also crumbles. Sometimes they put the name of the engineer on the bridge. So the name remains, but that person already died. So where did he go? Where is he now? So many big important people. Where have they all gone now? In recent Indian history, there are so many big important people. Rajiv Gandhi had the honor of dying in Tamil Nadu. And so many Gandhis and Indira Gandhi and Mahatma Gandhi. Where are they all now? Where have they all gone? No one knows. Big achievements, but where are they now? So we all have to face death. It's miserable. But Shastra gives us the information how we can live in such a way that we don't get born again. There is a spiritual world where there is no death. It's only bliss. This material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. We're not meant for suffering. We all want happiness, but we're all looking for happiness in the wrong way in this world. They're advertising that you'll get happiness by getting money, by getting prestige, by getting a big TV. But none of these things satisfy the soul. But we don't even know that we are a soul. People talk about Hindu dharma, Christian dharma, Muslim dharma, but no one knows who we actually are. We are eternal, Atma. The body dies, but we are eternal. We continue to live after the death of the body. So just like Shastra gives knowledge of the position of the child in the womb before birth, the Shastra gives knowledge of what happens after death also. And it's not difficult to understand that what we do in this life, that affects what will be our position in the next life. If we perform good activities in this life, we'll get good opportunities in the next life. If we perform sinful activities in this life, we will have to suffer. Maybe in this life, in the next life, many lives in future. Just like animal slaughter and meat eating, that is sinful. You'll have to suffer for that. But they're recommending, eat meat, become strong. But it's not even necessarily true that you become strong physically, even by eating meat. I mean, the elephant is very strong. You can eat meat all day and night, you'll never be as strong as an elephant. But the elephant is a pure vegetarian. So it's not necessarily true. Actually, meat causes so many diseases. So many people in the Western world are vegetarians. Not for religious reasons, but for health. Because they know that eating meat means it's already full of so much poison and it's too much concentrated food, and then you get heart attack, cholesterol, BP and all this kind of thing. So if we study in an intelligent way, we'll find that everything in the Shastra states, it's very reasonable. It's not mythology. On the gross material platform, if we see that every action has a reaction, then that happens in the karmic field also. That makes sense, doesn't it? If you do something good, you get a good reaction. If you do something bad, you get a bad reaction. We find in the world at the present time there's so many disturbances. The whole society is completely disturbed. If you look in the newspaper, what is the news? News means it's all bad news. Of course, they have the sports section also, but that's all nonsense, actually. They give so much importance to someone throwing a ball and someone hitting it with a piece of wood. It's just a distraction, it's a diversion. Human life is such an important business that we have to get free from birth and death, and instead we're throwing balls and hitting it with a piece of wood. Maybe for children, that's alright, but not for adults. So, this Krishna consciousness movement is meant for reminding people of the actual purpose of life. Everyone is spoiling their life, just wasting their time. Working. You get a good job means you work. In the modern age, everyone is just working. In English, they say working like an ass. Do you say that in Tamil? It's the same thing. Yeah. But I don't think the asses would even work as hard as the human beings nowadays. So for all our intelligence, they've fooled us into becoming more stupid than an ass. So we are inviting you to become actually intelligent. Actual intelligence begins with thinking, questioning, what is the actual purpose of life? That is why we are distributing these Bhagavad Gita. That is why we're building this temple here. That's why we're holding these programs, these lectures, just to give people knowledge of what is the actual purpose of life. That purpose we can understand from Bhagavad Gita. It's not very difficult to understand. That life is, in this material world, is full of suffering. We are meant to be happy. Our nature is to be happy. Happiness is with Krishna. Krishna is always happy. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means He is Param Purush, Purna Bhagavan, Paramatma. He is complete in all respects. Krishna is never unhappy. He's always fully blissful. Krishna doesn't have a good job. He doesn't have to go to some factory. Krishna is always blissful. Our real identity is with Krishna in the spiritual world. It's a very simple thing to understand. You don't need a PhD to understand it. Actually, if you have a PhD, it becomes more difficult to understand it. You get all these complicated ideas, all these, speculating about so many things. And then this simple point we miss. The simple information that we're all spiritual beings and we all have an eternal relationship with Krishna. It's actually very simple to understand. The people become so complicated, they just can't understand it. So, actually, in spiritual life, in real spiritual life, the first qualification is simplicity. Simplicity doesn't mean foolishness. But it actually means the intelligence to distinguish, to clearly understand what we need to do. It's just like if you're sick and there's some pill which is the medicine, you take the pill. Instead of just taking the pill, you could measure it, you could chemically diagnose it, you could pick it up and scratch your ear with it. But the intelligent thing to do is just to take the pill. So people, in the name of intelligence and education, they're doing all the wrong things. Society has become ridiculously complex. Everyone is confused. No one is happy. So we are just recommending, just be simple, straightforward and intelligent. Simple, straightforward and intelligent. Just understand that we are by nature spiritual beings. We do not belong to this material world. We belong to the spiritual world that is described in Shastra. Chintamani prakara sadnasu kalpa vriksha lakshavriteshu surabhira vipalayantam lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyamanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Just give the translation. Chintamani prakara sadlasu. All in the spiritual world, all the buildings, the houses, the walls, everything is made of chintamani. That means there's a kind of stone that just by touching it, all your desires are fulfilled. And all the trees have the same properties. What happens in the spiritual world? What's the news from the spiritual world? You might be surprised. Krishna lives there with many, many cows. You couldn't imagine that, huh? You might think the spiritual world is one big cricket stadium. But Krishna is very happy herding his cows and playing on his flute. And there are many gopis there who serve Krishna. And everyone's happy and blissful. There's no birth, death, old age or disease. But who is that Krishna? He is the original personality of Godhead. So that is a description of the spiritual world. There are other divisions in the spiritual world also. Those devotees who are very much attached to Ram Leela, they can go and serve the Supreme Lord as Rama. But in this Krishna Consciousness room, we're particularly interested to serve the Supreme Lord in His original form as Krishna. So we are just inviting everyone, please do not spoil your life. Just try to understand. We are in a blazing fire. It's just like a blazing fire, this material existence. Drowning in a great ocean. We're in a very dangerous position. But we can easily get delivered from that. We can easily get delivered by taking to Krishna consciousness. And Krishna Bhakti, it's very easy. Especially in this age. In Kali Yuga, simply by chanting the names of Krishna, we can get free from all miseries and go to Krishna. So please study this Bhagavad Gita as it is. It's the most important book. It must be important. It's coming for so many thousands of years. If you go in the college library, you'll find so many books. Actually, even the syllabus that you study, that's also out of date. Whatever they teach you, it's all out of date. Say you study biochemical engineering, by the time you finish your course, the actual field of biochemical engineering will be all different. So whatever books you have, for practical knowledge, you can just throw them away anyway. But this Bhagavad Gita is practical knowledge. It's so practical that it's coming for thousands and thousands of years unchanged. So just see how important is Bhagavad Gita. Please study this Bhagavad Gita. And the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is that we should understand Krishna is the supreme controller. We're all his eternal servants. And we can be happy by serving Krishna. Then no more burning in the fire of material existence. No more drowning in the ocean of material existence. And that serving Krishna is very easy and very joyful also. Particularly by chanting the name of Krishna. That purifies our consciousness. It's very, very simple. And people think, well, that's too simple. I have to study and get my PhD and all this kind of thing. But the best thing is always simple. Just like E equals MC squared. It's a simple formula. But behind that, there's so much understanding. To explain that, well, you have to be a top-level scientist. So to understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's a very simple statement. But even many great rishis and munis, they can't understand the depth of this importance of this statement. But we can very easily, just like we may not understand all the scientific theories, but we can use the scientific inventions like the microphone. So we may not understand all the deep philosophy by which Krishna is established as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we can chant Hare Krishna and we will get the full benefit because Krishna is pleased when we chant His holy name. So please don't waste your human life. We got this human life after many, many births. Now we have the opportunity to be actually intelligent. The dogs and the cats, they can't understand all these points. The dogs and the cats, they're just eating, sleeping, mating and defending. Ahara nidra bhaya maitunam cha. As human beings, if we're just eating, sleeping, mating, defending, then how are we better than dogs and cats? We're very proud of our modern civilization. Big buildings, highways. But it's the same business, eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So unless we inquire into the nature of spiritual reality, we're not even properly human beings. We're just sophisticated animals. So please don't be a sophisticated animal. Better to be a simple devotee of Krishna. That is a much better position. Are there any questions, please? No questions. You have a question.
Just for preaching purpose, I am asking this question.
You should do more preaching. It shouldn't be just a theoretical question. You should be fully engaged in preaching.
You have told that in Srimad Bhagavatam everything is given, the new technologies and embryology, something like this.
Well, yeah, in Shastra there are all different branches of knowledge are treated.
This in day by day there are new inventions are coming.
New inventions, yeah. But you don't need all of them, right?
But for some explanation.
What's the use? They have so many inventions. Just like this. Just making a disturbance, that's all. What's the use? The Shastra gives us knowledge of information about the material world that will actually help us. They're making more and more inventions. They just make our life more and more complicated. It's like you have a cell phone and then all the time there's some disturbance. Actually, we can live very simply, and we don't need all these things. And you don't need a cell phone. You live in one place. It's not required to go every day, 45 kilometers up and down here and there. Traditionally, people lived in one place. They didn't move around here and there. So you can live in one place, and then your mind won't be disturbed. And then you can cultivate spiritual knowledge. Alright, so there's some presentations. We have here some students. They came all the way from Namakkal. Thank you. We congratulate you for that. Who are the students who came from Namakkal? Please raise your hand. See, they're all very intelligent students. They realize that human life is meant for the science of self-realization. And they're studying. Oh, they just finished the course just now. Just 2 days. 2 days ago, we finished the course. So it's a happy new year for you in Krishna consciousness. The old year finished, all Maya finished, and now the new year means new life. Okay.